In the books, Jon Snow asks Sam to find out who the others are, where they come from, what they want. And Jojen told Bran that he would learn truths the first men knew, forgotten now, in Winterfell. We may now have some answers. As we went over yesterday, the Night King is the bastard, born in the crypt of Winterfell.
Everything you did brought you where you are now. Where you belong. Home.
What does he want? To erase the Starks' history, just like they did to him. First, the Starks intentionally left out the Night King's birthing story from the Winterfell Chronicles, the Forgotten Son. But that's just the beginning. It gets a lot darker after that. HBO released a blurb in advance of the Game of Thrones prequel that said, quote, "Only one thing is for sure. The Starks of legend, it's not the story we think we know." Which begs the question, what does the North remember? Let's start with the symbol. This symbol represents a few things. Sure, it looks like the Targaryen sigil, but more importantly, it represents a few things specific to the Night King. First off, it represents the place at which the Night King was created. The spiral pattern, it matches the rock spirals around the weirwood tree. Second, the symbol represents the concept of erasing history, because at the center of that symbol, at the place where he was created, was a weirwood tree, and weirwood trees record history. So by setting them up to burn Ned Umber, who represents the weirwood at the center of the spiral, the Night King effectively set them up to figuratively burn history. Ironically, that's what the Starks of old did to him. They erased his history. I hypothesized that they did that twice. As we went over in the last video, the first time they erased his history was in regards to his birth, because of the humiliations that his father, Bael, was said to have visited upon them, including, according to one improbable story, deflowering a Stark maid and getting her with child. The Winterfell Chronicles do not include the story of Bael the Bard. That's the first cover-up. Truths the first men knew, forgotten now in Winterfell. Can you think of any other huge cover-up that we've been told about already? The Night's King of history and lore. Brandon the Breaker is the quote-unquote hero who supposedly brought down the Night's King and the Night's Queen at the Night Fort. But was he really a hero? If he was a hero, then why did they ban the Night King's name? If Brandon the Breaker was a hero, then why did they erase the Night King's records from history? And why did they find out that the Night's King was sacrificing to the others after they brought him down? Pretty convenient. Smells like a lie. Smells like a second cover-up. Again, we go back to that blurb about the Game of Thrones prequel. Only one thing is for sure. The Starks of legend, it's not the story we think we know. So, who was Brandon the Breaker? As we mentioned yesterday, the Flowers, Jenny, Gilly, and Lyanna, they all escaped their betrothals. But the Rose of Winterfell, she did not escape. The Rose of Winterfell was Brandon the Daughterless's only heir, so presumably she was forced to marry someone and have a child so that the Stark line could carry on. Makes sense, because we still have Starks. That is why I hypothesized that she was forced to marry, and she had a son. That son being Brandon the Breaker. So that would make Brandon the Breaker and the Night's King half-brothers, and most likely these two were the two hellhounds or the two wolves who Simeon Stareye saw fighting at the Night Fort. What happened at the Night Fort? We don't know for sure. Those details will probably be hammered out in the Game of Thrones prequel, but based on the irony alone, I would be shocked if Brandon the Breaker did not A. break guest right and kill the Night's Queen, who was just a human, not a White Walker. And more importantly, I would be shocked if Brandon the Breaker did not kill the Night King's children, which brings us back to that symbol. The Night King effectively forced Beric to burn Ned Umber, a child. A reminder as to what the Starks did to his own children back in the day. Brandon the Breaker killed the Night King's children. If this concept of children is correct, then this powerful scene from Hardhome, it takes on some new depth. After Brandon the Breaker brought down the Night's King fled north of the Wall, and at this time, the Andals had arrived. The Andals had broken the pact to never harm weirwoods, so those who sing the Song of Earth, otherwise known as the Children of the Forest, they captured this man on the run. Then they converted him into the Night King. They tied his life to the weirwoods so that he would at least defend the weirwoods north of the Wall. Maybe, maybe not. Even if the details are off, the two main pieces of this are pretty solid in my opinion. The Night King was the bastard born in the crypts of Winterfell, and he later became the 13th Lord Commander, the Night's King of legend. Both of those stories appear to involve cover-ups by the Starks. But the Night King is the North, and the North remembers. Here's another clue from Season 8. Since we're in the final season, every line may have a purpose, right? In this little clip, we already touched on how the Karstark sigil, a sun, may be a clue to the Night King, the Forgotten Son. But on top of that, Davos mentioned that
not so long ago, the Starks and the Karstarks
were slaughtering each other on the battlefield. He's referring to the Battle of the Bastards, where Harold Karstark fought for Ramsay against Jon Snow. But what purpose did that line have in terms of the upcoming events? What role did that line play in the upcoming story? Think about it. The Karstarks are a cadet branch of House Stark, so they are family. They share a common ancestor. That's why Rickard Karstark called Robb a kinslayer back in the day.
We are kin, Stark and Karstark.
And it won't save you now.
I don't want it to save me. I want it to haunt you to the end of your days.
According to our hypothesis, the Bastard of Winterfell, the Night King, and his half-brother Brandon the Breaker, they shared a common ancestor too, their mother. And Jon Snow and the Night King, they share that same common ancestor, the Rose of Winterfell. What we're about to see is the second Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow versus the Bastard of Winterfell, the man whose name actually is Jon Snow. And it's worth mentioning that another clue from Season 8 is the fact that they reminded us that Sam's a klepto, that Sam stole books from the Citadel, most notably Legends of the Long Night. For more details on what I hypothesized to have really happened during the quote-unquote Long Night, what happened to the Night King between the time he was born and his rise to Lord Commander, check out the Night King Killed Azor Ahai video. But that's it for now. Episode 3 in T-minus 12 hours.